that, it's time to bring in Queen City News Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes ahead of tomorrow's arraignment.
Khalif, this is indictment number 3. What sticks out to you most in this one?
Wow, I mean, where do we start? But for sure, I'd say this. When you're looking at rape cases, that's probably the best way I can describe it. It's not about the act itself, but it's more about power and control. If something that sticks out to me the most in here is power and control, and they say power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This right here, look at the very first page. Despite having lost, the defendant was determined to remain in power. So for more than 2 months following an election, the defendant spread lies. And it goes on to say that he knew those lies and those claims were false. He knew they were false. In fact, the defendant was notified repeatedly that his claims were untrue, often by the people of whom he relied for candid advice on important matters and people that he put in positions of power. Normally, people in power have yes men that kind of do whatever they want them to do and say a yes to even things that sound outlandish. In this situation, the people that he put in power, people that had the most to gain, were telling him, Mr. President, this can't happen. We can't do this. You don't have the authority to do this. Telling Mike Pence that you have the right to overturn the will of the people. Mike Pence comes back and says, no, Mr. President, the Constitution, the founding documents of this country don't give me the authority to do that. And the president came back at Mike Pence and said, you kind of got to grow up a little bit here. You kind of got to start doing
You're too honest.
You're too
he took
honest.
Good notes when Pence did.
You kind of want the vice president of the United States to be honest. And so power. That's what this was. This has been a power grab and a power pull the entire time. And this is what this entire 45-page indictment lays out to me.
And that indictment, much like the other ones, using a lot of Trump's own words kind of against him to kind of lay it all out. And so what is the former president's reaction to all this? Is it any different than the other indictments that we've seen?
I mean, his reaction can only be, his only defense is in the court of public opinion, because obviously in the real court, in the court in Washington, D.C., where he'll go, which was much different in Florida, in D.C., where he is not liked much, he'll find a harder and a stronger position. And so all he can attempt to do is make his position of how there's an overreach of the government, how this is the President Biden's Department of Justice that is attempting to not go after me for some criminality, but to remove me as a candidate because I pose a threat, attacking not just the person of the president, but the entire institution. But what I find funny is that it was you, this indictment alleges that you were attempting to use the Department of Justice at your behest to do something criminal. And so I find it funny that now you're saying that the president, Joe Biden, is now doing the very same thing that you are alleged of doing in the past.
Well, speaking of the Department of Justice, Attorney General Merrick Garland was asked in D.C. yesterday about the new indictment against Trump and specifically about Special Counsel Jack Smith. Take a listen.
After the January 6th attack on our democracy, the career men and women of the Justice Department engaged in what has become the largest investigation in our history. Mr. Smith and his team of experienced, principled career agents and prosecutors have followed the facts and the law wherever they lead.
So, Khalif, obviously this has been a very thorough investigation. It's been going on for a while, but there are still more calls, mostly from Republicans, who are saying, hey, the Biden family and the current president need to be investigated. What's the difference here that people need to know about what's going on?
I think the instance what they're referencing, obviously, is the current president's son, Hunter Biden, and his interactions that he's alleged to have had with a number of other countries. Obviously, his deal fell through a few weeks ago with him attempting to plead out to the failure to pay taxes into the gun charge. But I think those investigations are still pending. That's everything that we've heard. If you look back, this is January 6th, happened 2.5 years ago. And so while I want that investigation to be over with, you still have to allow whatever investigation has happened into the president and his family with any ties they had to any foreign governments. You want those investigations to be thorough and you want them to be concluded the same way this is. It doesn't seem like they left anything out in this investigation in terms of the indictment for the president that we're looking at regarding the January 6th attack on the government. And so for sure, you want that process, if you're pointing to an investigation into the President Biden and his family, let the investigation take its course. But we can't confuse the fact that even if something happened with the president, this is something totally separate. This is the former president of the United States attempting to undermine the American people's election process.
And we all saw it unfold on January 6th.
It culminated on January 6th. But what I can point to is that It was the other things that were done. Quickly, if I can go, something that I took that was a crucial point. The president created this one department, the Department of Homeland Security Cyber Task Force. The individual, he wanted him to say something. That individual came out and said, Mr. President, it didn't happen like that. Came out with a report. What happened? He was fired the next day. So he created this department, and he believed that that department would work for him, and he forgot that these were the American people's department. You're just in the position that they elected you, but the people still have to follow the rules of law. And I commend the individuals that stood up to him, which could have been hard, had to been hard. Stand up to the President of the United States, the most powerful person on the planet, and say, no, you can't do this.
Meanwhile, 70% of Republicans in a new poll today came out and said they support former President Trump.
It shows that he's still good at what he does. He's still good at ensuring that folks can follow him and believe whatever he tells them.
All right, Khalif, thank you so much. And of course, you can count on Queen City News to deliver the latest breaking coverage with up-to-the-minute details in the arraignment of former President Trump. You can join myself, Brian, and Khalif again starting tomorrow afternoon up until the day's events conclude. You can also follow the latest developments on our website, qcnews.com.